Certainly, we'll open the floor up to some questions as well in a few minutes. But we wanted to sort of preempt that with here's the stuff we're hearing, and some of these questions I think are relatively easy to answer. But we did want to make sure that we get that sort of on the table and give you a framework of information again to be champions to go back to your clubs. So Chris, if you want to stand up here with me here, and we'll sort of double up on these. Chris, the cost and value for investment.
So currently our program broken down into two components. With the OPDL is an investment of $4,000 or less. The specific breakdown and budget I can't give you at this moment, but it will be available. For grassroots, we have a couple different components, but being a winter and a summer program, it's expected to be about between $6,000 and $1,000 per program.
Yeah, and I think something to keep in mind that we struggled with internally when we went and read Jason DeVos's online blog where he outlined here's what it's going to cost to play in this league, and we, like a lot of you who read that blog, went, holy crap, that's a lot of money. And to put it in perspective, though, I think before we start to look at here in London, Ontario, with a lot of you potentially having your kids or your neighbors' kids in the London Knights hockey program, the London Junior Knights hockey program, the kinds of dollars, the kinds of commitment that are required at that elite level, that's consistent with the kinds of commitment that's going to be required here. This field is not free. The Western fields, which if you haven't seen them, are absolutely beautiful. We're hoping they'll be sort of free, but I highly doubt it. And as Therese sits right here in front of me. No, it's a beautiful field. If you haven't been up there, go check out a Western men's or women's game. It's fantastic. But again, I do want to just emphasize that we did bottom-up math on this. We basically said, here's the costs. Now let's divide it by the number of players. There's the math. So it's relatively simple math from our end, and certainly in sync with what you would expect for elite-level athletics here in the city in other sports. To continue on the travel side, I'll just handle that one quickly. Again, we don't know yet. We have heard rumor that the 18 teams will be split in half, and the 9 that are West will play in a Western League, and the 9 that are Eastern will play in an Eastern League. That has not been yet confirmed. We did speak with Alex Chiat, who really is directing OPDL. He says he'll have an operations guide for us in about 2 weeks with that information. I will mention that it was implied when we were upstairs that Thunder Bay might have been in our league, which means that we would have been going to Thunder Bay and we're not. So that's a good thing, because we did that in PDL and it was a $12,000 ticket. So it's okay. How to try out for OPDL grassroots? I think we've covered that off. Certainly on the grassroots side, it's going to be more on the assessment side. OPDL, that will be in January, and the OPDL will be happening within the next couple of weeks. We'll be announcing when that will be happening between now and December. Coaches has been a big question. Who are the coaches going to be? I think, Chris, you and I have spoken a little bit about this. One of the interesting things which has come into play is that there are now coaches available to us from all the way from Windsor to Hamilton. And that didn't exist for us even a week ago. We were not privy to who got in and who didn't. We have already had about 5 or 6 resumes in the door from coaches who are not London-based saying, I want to be involved. And I think that opens up the doors for some very big opportunities, not only for people outside of the city, but also for us to benefit from their coaching experience. And further to that, one of our mandates is to make sure that our coaches internally have a pathway to grow as well. Chris has his national B. There's a number of people who are involved, have their provincial B, and people who have a lower degree than that right now. Our goal is to get them moved up the ladder as well, because an important component for us is to make sure that they're gaining skills just like the players are. Chris, maybe you want to tackle this one. Why participate in the FC London program versus what you're doing now?
So basically, hopefully you've seen a little bit of a snapshot. Basically, why would you participate in OPDL with FC London? Because it's a high-performance, professionally delivered program for those players who want to take their game to the next level. Why would you participate in grassroots? Because FC London is able to offer something, because of resources and other things, that it takes a grassroots approach based on sports medicine, science, and everything, and takes the game grassroots to the next level with the ability to have high qualified coaches, both paid and volunteer, to be able to help deliver that program for those those players who want to get to the next level?
Can players come in and out of the program? Chris has already addressed that. You, of course, are going to get the 12-year-old who's 6'4", who by the time he's 17 isn't as good as he was when he was 12. And vice versa. You're going to end up with situations where someone maybe isn't as skilled but when they hit that growth spurt, all of a sudden they really come into their own. We've all seen players do that. So certainly, this is not an exclusive situation where if I get in as an 8-year-old, I'm going to be in that program for life. Or if I don't get in, I'll never get in. We certainly, our mandate and our goal is on an annual basis is to reevaluate that roster. We also took a run at what are we getting from clubs, boundaries to draw players and coaches from. I just addressed that. The fact that we can now go in fact, we can go anywhere we want. We actually had an application from a coach from Manitoba yesterday. So certainly people know what we're doing and people are quite interested in being involved, and we're certainly looking at getting those resources and aggregating them together for the benefit of soccer here in London. Are there going to be affiliations with current London clubs? I think maybe already talked on that.
So part of the OPDL process is you cannot have a direct affiliation with the club. You have to be a self-sufficient club as part of an OPDL program. However, what you can do is form partnerships. And again, we as FC London are hoping to form as many partnerships with clubs that are willing to participate. Ultimately, in the end, it's the club's decision. If you want to be supportive, you want to promote opportunities, we're happy to share, and we want to give everybody that opportunity. So official affiliations aren't in the cards, but partnerships definitely.
How can we support High Performance Club? As I mentioned, certainly from a support standpoint, we have all the enthusiasm for everybody here, plus all the enthusiasm for the people who couldn't make it this evening. So from a staffing standpoint, again, there's a lot of passion for the game here. We see it on and off the field all the time, and we feel it's certainly sustainable here in London. From a financial standpoint, as I said, we basically did the math backwards, and it will be a situation where we are not in this to make a ton of profit. Somebody told me once, how do you make a little bit of money running a football club? And the answer was start with a lot of money. And so certainly our goal is not to turn this into a company that makes a lot of money. Our goal is to put together a program which is self-sustaining and can deliver what we say it's going to deliver. How are we going to find coaches and players? Can I address that one?
So we have basically two ways that we'd like to. We'll have our in-house opportunities through media marketing and whatnot. The other, I think, most important part of it is relying on local London area clubs to be able to partner and say, I have a player that you should have a look at. Can you come to a session? Can you come to this? I think it's important that we realize it's about the player. We all know that giving players an opportunity is a challenge at times, but definitely is best for the player. The other part is open assessments. We will definitely make sure that everybody knows and allow everybody open in and out of the program.
And finally, partnerships. Really, what's the benefit? Certainly on the club side. Again, we're looking at reciprocal relationships. We're going to be given curriculum, be it from Toronto FC or from the OSA or material that we develop ourselves. We want to make sure we can drill that down. From a coaching perspective, not only are the coaches who we're involved within our program, they're going to be given a pathway to increase their degrees and coaching certificates, but also the ability to drill back through the club and let coaches who are as keen as some of you are grow, and ultimately the benefit is to the player. Something like this has not existed historically in the province of Ontario, certainly not in the last 15 years. And so this is something new. It's going to have its bumps and grinds and learning curve, I think. This is the first year. I don't think any of us here are expecting it to go totally smoothly. But at the same time, we're in. And to Linda's comment, we're excited to be in. If we weren't in, I think we'd all be scratching our head and going, what do we do now? And so certainly bringing this to the table, it gives all of us an opportunity to really take soccer here to the next level. From that point, I know we're tight on time. We wanted to wrap it up around 8 o'clock, but we're certainly open to answering a couple of questions. Anybody who's got one specifically that is resonating? See it?
One thing I think most of us here are involved in championships and grassroots of soccer. So my question
It's a great question. The question was, is a grassroots player, someone who's in this program, also going to have the opportunity to play outside of this club with another club?
No. I'm just kidding. Sorry, do you want a better explanation?
No, I understand.
Okay. Yeah, because again, LTP, and I'll explain for those, LTPD compliance is a player has a certain amount of time on the field. So for us to be LTPD compliant and for the benefit of the player and the well-being, which we have a program, 2 training sessions and a match a week is the requirement. So if they are doing more than that within the soccer, so amongst clubs, we no longer LTPD compliant. It's not best for the player.
Okay, so yeah, you got one more. Go ahead.
Who are they playing against? You said it's an internal league. Now, are they playing other OPDL clubs?
The question was, in the grassroots program, who are the players playing against?
So the grassroots program being in-house, one of the benefits with having a 50-player squad is that they'll train, for example, Monday and Wednesday, match day on Saturday. They will form teams to play on match day Saturday against themselves in the in-house program. It's designed so that you can take players and be fluid and move them in and out each week. So, for example, on Wednesday they might be told you're going to wear black on Saturday and you're going to play white on field 3. That being said, we will have festivals, and it's been talked to other OPDL clubs. There's been a rumor that perhaps they will be allowed to have festivals within OPDL clubs, but nothing official.
John, you had a question?
Ian, what could the city do to help enhance this program? I'm not talking about financial support, but in terms of infrastructure, is there anything that you see that we could provide to really give some hope and some meat on the bone for this event?
Yeah, John was just asking, is there anything that the city can do to further enhance what we've got going here? I think one of the interesting things, we've already had some communication with the OSA, some inference that there may be somewhere between 5 and 8 home games here. When I say home games, that's actually home tournaments, which may be 1 or 2 days. Those would also be provincial and national team selection camps that would happen here in London, potentially over 2 days. What that means is you may have anywhere from 9 to 18 teams, times 24 people, times boys and girls, times all their parents coming into London. And I think certainly we're going to be reaching out to the tourism group and the city to make sure that when you've got people coming in from across the province who are all elite level athletes, we want to make sure we give them the same kind of experience that they've had with other competitions that have been there. And there may be other things, but we can talk about that offline. One more question. Yes?
How do you plan on training your grassroots program? Like, if you have 50 players, you're going to have 25, when you're top 25 and your bottom 25, there's going to be a huge skill level difference.
The question was, how do you plan on handling 50 players in a grassroots program at each age group?
So when you have a 50-player squad, the intention is that your coaches will work with all players. And when you're only taking 50 players, the level of play will be somewhat comparable. Because they're not competing directly against each other, and it's individually based, teaching them within the game at U8. U8s are playing free play. LTPD game is 5v5. There's not a lot of rules. There's no throw-ins, things like a retreat line. So they're really encouraged just to play the game. There's not a lot of coaching in the game. In the activities, basic activities, which are at 8 years old, technically, dribbling a ball, passing with the inside of your foot or outside of the foot. So the level of play is not as, you're not going to have 2 players beating up each other. And in the games, that's part of the structure, having an open pool. Yes, you would take a group of players and have them play to form a squad. Sometimes stronger players need to play with players that aren't as good because you raise the level of that player. And in London, an area, I would hope that we'd have 50 players that are somewhat in the same grid. Hopefully there's enough with 42 plus clubs to be able to take 50 players at an age group to have some decent level here.
With that said, DJ Raz, you're up on the music. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Again, our goal really is to really try to combine business strategy with skill development and take all the passion for the game that we've seen from us and from you tonight to wrap it all up and create something really special. So again, thank you for coming.